I'm glad y'all tuned in. We about to get this show started. Yeah. Dr. Clyde Winters and Yoshi. Yeah. Then and now. We talking about back in the day and right now. Yeah.
Now let's introduce Yoshima the Genius and Dr. Clyde Winters, the godfather of research.
What up, though? What up, though? Oh!
Poof. We here,
What's
y'all.
going on? Family, I'm so happy to see you guys here. We got a queen here, and this is Beket Mat Sat Ra. You know, that means that she's here with the spirit. She's going to share some great information with you, and we're going to talk about mother love. Beket, could you tell the people about yourself, please?
Well, hello, family. I am Beket Ma'at Sat Ra. I am the author of The Black Mother Wound, Comedic Centered Thought Remedy. And I'm very proud of it. It is a tool to help us with the shadow work if we're at all aware of some of the things that are going on in the popular media, some of the things going on in our own families, in our community. It just asks us to reflect and be mindful and have some empathy and compassion for what it means to take on the water of Black motherhood in bondage. So not only for the Black mother, but the Black daughter. And I was very pleased to find out for the Black son. I got feedback from men saying that they could see themselves in the work and see themselves in the remedy. And that was really surprising and wonderful. But anyone who has a Black mother or loves a Black mother or wants to become a Black mother, we can all benefit from taking the time to reflect accurately and appropriately about our highest contribution to motherhood.
How you doing, Von P? You know, motherhood is a very important thing, and you know, a lot of times as a man, you know, we have different thoughts about mom. Yoshi, what do you when you think? I know you and your mom are very close, and you know, and it's you know, tell us about that.
A relationship with my relationship with my mother is like that's my bud, my friend. My grandmother, me and her relationship, she was a best friend to me too. So when she passed on, when she transcended, um, it was like I lost a homie, a a partner of mine. Like it was different, you know, because I hear when people say, "Man, I lost my grandmother," you know, and it's like I remember she used to bake this. Well, I remember me and my grandmother used to talk about each other. She'd say, "You come over here, you book ahead." And I say, "Nah, you got to book ahead." And she say, "Ah, you got to book ahead." So she, you know, her last name was a Booker, Miss Booker. So she talked about my head shape. She said I have a book ahead. But my relationship with my mother is tight. Our bond is amazing, and it's you know how you said, Dr. Clyde, as a kid you can't be friends with your child. As they become adults, then you can kind of be friends with them because they're kind of no longer your responsibility in a sense, but they still are. But they have their own thing going on. So me and my mother, man, I love that lady, man. I love her so much. The things that we talk about, I'm gonna have on the show. Y'all look out for that. I'm gonna bring my mother on the show, and we're gonna talk about crazy drivers and bus drivers and stuff like that. On the road, everybody is a crazy fool, You know, that's what I love about it. But yeah, relationship with my mother is wonderful, Dr.
Yeah.
Clyde. I think a
Oh, beautiful.
relationship with your mother should be it should be shown. I
Mhm.
think that in a relationship, if the man doesn't have a good relationship with their parents that tells them about them, or the wife or whatever, I think that your relationship with your parents really do impact how you react among everybody in the community,
Oh, yes.
friends,
Oh,
family,
yes.
peers, whatever.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I
You
believe
know,
that.
well, I think it's kind of complicated because with my mom, with me being, I was what? I was the third. I was the third child.
Hmm.
You know, and I had my brother. Then I had two twins, my brother and my sister. They were born. Then me, and then
Ooh.
my sister snuck up on me, and so then I think I had a different relationship. I didn't. I didn't feel close to my mom because my mom was too much trying to make me become, in a sense, a man, a black
Mm,
man,
mhm.
and so it was difficult. I used to think it was only me, but then I talked to some of my sister's friends, and they had the same thing. See, we grew up in the 50s and 60s. Our parents didn't tell us that I love you. My mom
Mhm.
never my mom never told me she loved me.
Hmm.
My
Yeah.
grandmother never told me she loved me. A lot of
Mhm.
times, in the sense is that, as you said about your grandma, grandmas and mamas, they were kind of show you in a sense that they loved you through food. I remember when I met my wife
Through
and we were
food.
talking and we were trying in a sense to get to know each other. And so I said, yeah, whenever I play football, I always think about my mom, and I knocked the hell out of that running back for that. Then my, then my, Diane looked at me strange. What? You think about hitting your mom when you play football? I said, yeah, that's how I could really be knocked the hell out of somebody. And so
Oh,
then I didn't think it was mental illness, but it was trauma. It was traumatic.
My
mhm,
partner
mhm.
almost had a shootout with his mama.
Oh
So
wow, I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Wow.
I
Wow.
guess yours ain't too far fetched. I mean, I know
Ye-
people's that got
Shootout.
mothers, man, that
Mhm.
you know on crack, man, but they still love their
Yeah.
mama, man. I
Yeah.
mean, they
Oh,
they
it's a biological imperative. You really don't get a choice, you know. Your survival depends on it. It's one of
And
the
it,
first things
yes,
that
the
we
mama.
do as human beings is
Yeah.
that bond. We understand where our food comes from,
Mhm.
our shelter before
Mhm.
we understand anything else. And
but
it's hardwired for a reason.
but it's social pressure on you too.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about their mama, and you don't really think your mama really treated you right because, and everybody always telling you that it's like you're like a freak or you're like an alien. But I
Mm.
understood, like my mother, if I fell down and got hurt, she'd say, "Boy, stop crying. You got to be a man." If my sisters got hurt, oh, come here, let me kiss it. Oh no, don't let me
So,
kiss it. So
but
don't
so all
kill.
right. Me, I was my wife called me when our first relationship a mother's boy. He was a mama's boy
Oh,
because I love my
okay.
mother so much. It wasn't
Hmm.
that I'm always under her. It's just I knew whatever lacked in my mother relationship with her husband, I knew that I'd do that with my wife. So if my
Mm.
mom ever complained to me and say, "Oh man, we ain't going out over here," or "He ain't never did this," just a little bit of that, because she
Hmm.
really never like bashed my
Yeah.
dad or anything, but just the little bit made me look at my relationship and say, well, at the time in the 90s there was commercials about women and men, the men leaving the toilet seat up, it was a big thing. It's all the women hated the toilet seat being up,
Oh
They
yeah.
do. They do.
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
made sure that every time I do what I do, I
Thank
wipe the
you.
seat off and
We
I
said
put the seat
thank
down.
you. Thank you, my brother. From all your sisters, from all your
She
sisters,
said,
we want to
oh,
thank
yes.
you for that kind of mindfulness. Yes, thank you, my brother.
Thank
We
you.
all thank
For sure,
you.
for sure.
Yes.
But
Hmm.
Cat, I'm glad you're here. So
For
you
sure.
can enlighten us. You can help us to be
I could
Please,
more
I could tell
constructive.
please, yes.
I can tell you getting up in the middle of the night with a partner who does not put that's serious. I want to acknowledge you for that, my brother
You
King.
see, you
Yes.
see, see that's
That's
real because
mindfulness.
when I seen that whatever my dad didn't do for my mother,
Mm-hmm.
I made sure that I did from whenever I had my woman. So
Ashe.
if my dad didn't take me to play football or throw the ball with me, I said, man, when I have my son,
Mhm.
I'm gonna do that with him. My dad never taught me how to ride a bike. I said I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that with him. But I also do the things my mother do. So my mother made sure we had food on the table, made sure that my clothes was clean, made
Mhm.
sure that my hair. She said, "You better fix your hair, boy, because you going out there representing me." And then I
Right.
had to go back in there and I had to fix my. And my mom used to iron my clothes before I went outside. So when
Mhm.
I say mama's boy, it's because I know how to nurture a woman. I know how to.
Uh,
There you go. Come on now. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get. Yeah. Because you learn that,
Confidence is
man. You
good.
learn. You
Yeah.
learn. Your
you
mother
you
has to teach you. She did a good job.
you better
Yes.
you better put that in the bottle. Put it in the bottle, Yoshi. You'll be
And
able
sell
to be a
that. Yes.
millionaire
That
because
confidence. It's always helpful. Now,
Appreciate
are
it.
you? Did you have any sisters and brothers, Yoshi?
I
Brother
had one
Yoshi.
little brother. I had one
Okay.
little brother, and I do have other, siblings, brothers and sisters,
Mhm.
but that's on my dad's side that I don't know about.
Okay.
They don't claim me, and hey, I ain't finna make them. But yeah, I have a little
Yeah.
brother. I have a little
It's
brother.
interesting because we can grow up with siblings in the same house and have a completely different experience
Yep.
you do.
of the mother
Yep.
relationship. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
always really
Please,
interesting to
Karen.
me when I talk to people and they will have one experience of their mother and their sister or brother will have a different
A
one.
whole
The
nother
boys,
experience.
whole nother experience. The boys will have a different experience than the girls. We have a saying in our community, what is it? You raise sons, but you correct daughters or
Mm-hmm.
something along that lines
I
where we
don't
make a
know.
distinction.
I let my wife deal with my daughter. How you doing, Timbo and Karen and
Timbo,
Ben?
what's up? What's
You know,
up?
my
One P.
I always felt my mother was mean to me because I felt that I was born at a difficult time. My father used to always take me around with him, and then one day, he took me over to this lady's house. So when we came back, my mom said, "Where did y'all go?" I said, "Oh, my mom." I said, "Mom, we went over. What was that lady named, Dad?" We went over her house. I called her Daddy O. After that, he didn't take me anymore. And I
Yeah,
always
that's why he
felt,
ain't take you no
Oh
more.
my
Yeah.
goodness, you snitched.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was a
you
snitch.
snitch.
I didn't know I was a snitch. He didn't tell me don't tell. But like my father, I always felt that, my father was light skinned, gray eyes and stuff. And I always felt that my mother may have treated me different because of the fact I think my father was maybe too hoe chasing back before I was
Mm,
born. And so my
mm,
mom took it out on me. And
yeah.
maybe I was wrong, but I just felt that when I look back on it though, I see she was trying to teach me something. She was trying to teach me to maybe be strong. She was trying to
Mm,
teach me to be prepared for this for being a black man because see the thing is this is that you can't cry. I only cried
mm,
2 times. I cried when my wife her appendix busted in 72, I think it was. I cried then, and then I cried again after my wife died. So that was two
mhm.
times I cried. I used to
Yeah.
wish I could cry, but my
Yes.
mom, my mom had toughened me up because see,
Yeah.
a man not supposed to cry. I don't know.
Right.
She made you tough.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I made my sons different. I kissed them and stuff, hug them.
Oh.
But I only did it because I wanted them to be. I thought I was raising some warriors. I thought it was going to be a revolution, and
There
so
still might be.
Yeah.
but I did. And so I wanted them. I wanted to have my sons ready to fight. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted them to always look up to their older brother because he's going to have to be their leader.
Mm-hmm.
But the revolution never came. Now my oldest son, he in his 50s. He's still kind of mean and tough. He's not mean and tough though. Maybe he could lead the people, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Those
But
are parenting goals. Yeah.
yeah, but again, moms, you love them and you
Mm-hmm.
always love them. But I was one day we were talking to this psychic, and so then
You went to see a psychic? Who and you? Who?
I forgot her name. I called her up, and so we called her up. And so so she said all the people wanted to talk to me and all that type of stuff. Yeah, and then she said your mother wanted to talk to you. And I said what's she doing up there?
Right.
And I
You crazy.
Ooh.
because I felt the way she treated me. I felt the way she treated me in a
What
sense.
is she
You
doing?
know, was mean. And then my wife said later, said, Clyde, you know, maybe your mama wanted to say she was sorry. I felt bad that I did that because I thought I had got over all that stuff. And
Yeah,
my wife said you hadn't got over it, but
So that's
now
the
I think,
shadow work.
yeah, I think
exactly. That is the shadow work. It
Mhm.
waits for you.
that's why I loved your book.
Well, thank you. It waits for you. We can think, and it's funny, we forget. I think we forget that nature and the universe is cyclical. And so is our trauma. You know, whatever it is that we deal with and we process in the moment, that does not mean that you put it in a suitcase, tuck it away, it never comes back. I don't think that's a realistic expectation for anybody. And I think we tend to want to deal with conflict and trauma that way. We want to get over it. We want to move on, put it in the past, get over it. Um, and there's a reason when, like you talked about your mother, Baba, there's a reason, her own story. There's her story. There's what her mother showed her about raising children, and what her mother's mother showed her about raising children, and what was going on in the environment. And it's really interesting that you talked about her kind of waylaying some of her issues or anger or frustration onto you that had to do with your father.
That's what
Um,
I think.
yeah, I think that's valid. I spoke with a sister who, the father of her daughter had been a lot of drama, a lot of expansion and unnecessary drama in her life. And she had to challenge herself consciously because her daughter looked so much like the father. She had to challenge herself consciously to make sure that those emotions didn't well up when she was frustrated with her daughter. And she was
Ah,
aware of it. She was consciously aware of it, that she would look at her daughter and see the father, and that she would feel a way about that. And she was very, very mindful about it because she felt that that was something really common in our community, that a lot of times we have uh, we have situations where, you know, the child looks exactly like the father, talks like the father, may have mannerisms like the father or the mother, depending on, you know, what the situation is. And we're human at the end of the day. And when we've been hurt or harmed and that's triggered, and we're back in a situation where we're frustrated, and a 2-year-old that looks like somebody who told you no says no, um, you might you might have to deal with that trauma again. You might be back in the cycle again of stepping back and saying, hey, wait a minute, what do I believe about this? You know, where is this coming from? What am I perceiving right now? What's attached to it? Um, and hopefully, I would hope that anybody who takes on the awesome responsibility of introducing a productive human being into our community, that they're willing to take those few moments and check in, because it matters. It stays with us for the rest of our lives.
yeah. You know,
Yeah.
Karen Vincent a lot of men feel like you, Yoshi, but they are not going to say it. Um, that might be true. That might be true, but I think most men, that they're crazy about their moms, and we're crazy about. I remember when I was teaching in county jail, and I found out when I wrote my dissertation on working with inmates in terms of knowledge. And what I found in a sense is that a lot of the students that I had in jail, a lot of these guys, they hated women, but much of their focus in terms of how they mistreated women was mainly, in a sense, what they should have directed at their moms.
That's right.
But instead of them trying to 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 talk it out with their moms, they instead they took it out on women. How you doing, Black Lyron?
Yeah,
You know, and
you're
how
right
you
about that.
doing?
You're right about
And
that.
Cinnamon
Yeah.
Star.
Yeah.
You what did you want to say, Yoshi? You said
Yeah,
I'm
you're right
right.
about that because
Hmm.
a lot of prostitutes and pimps
Hmm.
have parent issues. A
Hmm.
lot of pimps, if when you talk to them, they have seen something in their
Hmm.
mother that made them kind of triggered some in them to do this to women. Because I always ask this question: you love your mother so much, then why is she a bitch? You love
Mm.
your mother so much, then why is she a hoe? You love her so much, but why do you gotta have so many thoughts?
Mm.
But you have one main mother. What if that main mother was in your time and space and she was that thought? she was that whore, she was that bitch. Would you still call that woman that? A woman is all that until they had your baby. Then the bitch is my baby mama, right? Now we
Mm,
have we putting titles on it again. So
come on.
that's the stuff that irritates me because
Mm-hmm.
I get offended by when a man call another woman a bitch unless she
Usher.
deserved it. Now if
Usher.
she owned that title, gotcha. But if she never owned it and all women are bitches and hoes, then
Mm-hmm.
on that Snoop Dogg, y'all know what I'm talking about, on that Snoop Dogg kind of stuff. Back when Snoop Dogg was
Yeah.
on his A game, everybody, all women,
But
what he say, in my world, a girl is considered a bitch. Like
hey,
that's how
but
he
let's go.
think.
But let's go back in the 2000s, man. If
Hmm.
you read a lot of social media, a lot of women was calling themselves bees.
They
A lot of
was.
Yeah,
women
yeah.
dropped that.
I asked my wife that. I say, babe, why you get amongst your partners and y'all be like, yeah, bitch, I'm a real
Right.
bitch. And it's like, and she say, well, it's different. And then she say, it's just like when y'all men get around each other, y'all call each other niggas.
Right.
And it's
No,
like,
I don't. I think it's a little bit different.
it's not.
Nah.
I think it's a little bit
No,
different.
No, I
it's
think that's a
different.
little bit
Come on,
different.
babe.
Yeah,
Y'all, yeah, go ahead.
we
You can
we
help me
start
out.
we start out mimicking, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and I hopefully I will write a paper on this, but there's a concept or a theory, I will call it a theory, that we as human beings, we begin by mimicking in our development. We mimic the attitudes, the behaviors, the conversations that we see, right? um, there's a point at which in our development that we either decide to self-master, or we mimic self-mastery. And we will mimic self-mastery that we see in those who master us. So we will mimic how our mother treated us.
Hmm.
Either that, or we will self-master. And that's the journey. That's the shadow work. We will self-master on our own, or we're going to continue our entire lives as grown women looking at each other and calling each other the B word and everything under the sun.
Now, I
Um,
had real
because we're
quick,
mimicking.
I want to, because you say mimic,
Hmm.
I heard this. A woman didn't start calling herself a bitch
Hmm.
until the man start calling himself a dog.
That's interesting.
What up, dog? What's happening,
What
dog?
up, though?
Hey, what
Yes,
up,
yes.
dog? What's up, my dog? Yeah. And then the
Yeah.
women start calling each other bitches. Because
Wow.
then you got to look at it as the boy effect too. What's up, boy? What's up, boy? Then there's the
Mm,
girl.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
so we're demoting ourselves
Mhm.
in a sense, and we're tearing down our character, and we're just going
Absolutely.
about something like how you said mimic.
We're
So I can
mimicking.
see that. I can
Yeah,
see
we're
that
mimicking how
yeah,
we're treated. We're
yeah, I
mimicking.
can see
We're
that.
mimicking the treatment we receive in bondage. Before we had the opportunity to master ourselves,
Uh-huh.
someone else did it for us. Someone
Right.
else told us what our attitude should be, what our
Mm-hmm.
behavior should be, what our conversation should look like. Now, the
That's
people
cool.
that did that, they also did it to our parents, who turned around and taught
Yeah.
us
Jesus.
that
Yeah.
this is what self mastery looks like, because I've been mastered from the outside. So it's up to us in our own journey whether or not we do that work and we say, okay, wait a minute, I'm down with I self law am master. I am the master of myself, not my environment, not my past, not not the
Okay.
attitudes, behaviors, and conversations of the people that I spend time with, or the people that I was fortunate enough to come through. Um, yeah, it's not a group project. Self mastery.
You know, Timbo said this is why our history got messed up. The European couldn't see how Africans, you know,
Yes.
Africans cherish their mother.
Yep, they
Woo.
didn't. They
There it
didn't see that.
is. They
Karen,
didn't see it on the individual level or the
You're right.
collective
In
level.
their community, they need one day out the
Hmm.
whole year
Hmm.
to remember that they got a mother,
yeah,
because they
Yeah.
left their mother in an old home. They left their mother with the old siblings.
Mm-hmm.
They left their mother to pursue their jobs, to go
Mm-hmm.
do all the stuff that they want to do, and they forgot their parents.
that's true. I made a mistake. You know, my wife wanted more daughters. I said I'll make her one. You know, so I said I'll give you one daughter. You
You
think
got the
I'm joking?
power.
You think I'm joking? I knew what the hell what I was doing, man. I knew what I was
You
doing when
knew
I
what
was
you
having
was doing,
We
sex.
don't.
huh?
Yes, sir.
We don't
Yes,
have this
sir.
kind of treasure
Now I'm
anymore
sorry.
in the
Now
community.
I'm sorry. I only got one daughter. See, daughters
Oh,
take care of their
He did
take care
right.
of their
yes, they
parents when
do.
they get older.
Yes, they
Your
do.
sons, they would date women unless women want to help your ass out. You left out in the cold. Karen said a lot of people left home at a young age because they don't want to argue with their mom. That's true.
Mm,
You know, I used to
yeah,
always hear when I was growing up is that you can't two women can't stay in the same house. Timbo
that's
said,
right.
yeah, you
That's
got
right.
females that be like an bad
I'm a
bitch.
bad bitch. Yeah,
That's
I'm a
right.
know,
bad
That's
bitch.
right.
Yeah, they do that.
And the thing is what about that? Do you think that's true, Paquette, that a lot of times you can't have two women in the same house?
Absolutely. I do not believe you can have two queens in a castle. You can't have two kings in a castle. It doesn't work. It's not human nature unless you're going to be roommates and you're going to pay rent and that's what it's probably going to come to if you're trying to be an adult and be a queen in your mother's castle. There's going to be strife. I think a lot of relationships that are in that phase where they're dealing with the Black mother wound. There is a plethora of young people right now, the millennials and Gen Zs, that are moving through a process with this thing that the settlers are calling narcissism and going no contact with their parents and family members and moving out, moving away, and breaking links and breaking ranks. Yeah, there's a lot of hurting out there in our community and a lot of mimicking, like what you said, Yoshimad, or the comment where we see females that are boasting on their own. Oh, I'm a bad bee. I'm this and that and the other. Again, it's mimicry. They're mimicking something that they see. They're mimicking their environment and what it is to experience Black motherhood, Black daughterhood, Black womanhood in bondage. They're mimicking that.
I think it's one thing when a man like calls a woman something.
Hmm.
It's another thing when a woman calls another woman something, especially a Black woman. So
Hmm.
a man, he can say all this negative stuff,
Yeah.
man, you ain't there, da, da, da. But when another woman does it,
Hmm.
it holds a different kind of weight.
Yeah.
So men, they can go in their raps and talk about how B's is this, HOEs is that, and in our community, we justify it and say, well, there are some of them that are that, but
Right.
we're not. And
Yeah.
women
Right.
would separate themselves from it. But then it
Oh
got
yeah.
to a point where women was like, nah, we all that and above.
Yeah.
We everything. I'm that
Not
B.
not all
I'm
women.
that.
Now
Not all women,
we
but
can't
the ones on
generalize.
a
Yeah.
lot of the ones on mainstream, a lot of the ones that the
Yes.
children follow, and they
Yes.
know
Yes.
who the children follow, and they
Yes.
give them
Yes.
icons, and they say, yeah, you are a bad B.
Hmm.
Yeah, you are a thought. You're the
Yes.
best thought. You can be the
Yeah.
best thought ever. And they tell them that and pump they empty heads up, and then
Yeah.
they get on mainstream and they talk about all the thought crap that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Say, who is this right here, Dr. Clark?
Jalen,
Jay Lynn. Many parents had children young and they had never told I love you, and they still carry those traits with them when having their own children. So
I think
That's
that can
right.
be true. That can be true.
they put it
That's
on
right.
the train. It's like a train. You
It
know?
is. It's generational trauma. It is
Yes.
generational trauma. It's historical. Not only that, it's epigenetic. There's epigenetic trauma there too. You
If
have
those,
to
if
go
those
ahead.
women could have met me at a ar, and they could have been sexy, and they looked hot that night, if they would have asked me, I would have said,
We got the solution.
nothing. But
Baba
again,
has a solution.
you know, Jalen also said that there also is that element of the parent where they may think the child hindered them from doing the accomplishments. Okay, yeah, but they wanted to do before the obstacles of a child came into the picture. I don't know because we had our first child. My wife was 16 when we had our first child. We weren't married, and she didn't like the fact that her mom and dad. How you doing, Nara? She didn't like the fact that her mom and dad took over our oldest son, and she always felt that they messed up his head because she felt that they didn't turn him over. She felt they should have been turning my oldest son head over, and she felt they messed it up. So
The shape? You mean the shape of his head?
Shaping his head.
yeah, because she felt they let him lay on the same side all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby,
That's the thing.
son,
Yeah.
Head looks okay to me. Your wife ain't left you yet. So you okay.
That's
Yeah.
funny that you bring that up because my mother and my grandma used to always make fun of the Mexican babies because the Mexican babies have the
Oh,
flat heads in the back.
crib
And
head. Yeah.
yeah, the crib head. Yeah, see, and my
Yeah.
grandma used to say they neglecting that little muchacho. That little muchacho being there screaming, and they just
Yeah.
neglecting
And they just ignore him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's
it is very complicated. Nora said parents didn't have a teacher. They did the best they could. That's what I
true.
told the son. I was telling that you got a lot of whoopings, and in a way I feel sad, but I said you're the oldest. So your brothers they looked up to you. So when the brothers saw you getting a whooping, then sometimes maybe I did, but see, I was different in the senses that I learned at an early age to tell my children that I'm sorry if I think I did something wrong.
That's critical right there. Hold on, Baba. That's critical because
Wow.
here's the thing. In this conversation, one of the things that's fed back to me over and over again is, well, they did the best they could. I have to tell you, the millennials and the Gen Zs and the young people that are out there, they're not hearing that. And I really don't blame them. We did the best that we could. It just doesn't cut it. But here's the thing, because when we know better, we do better. And that's true. But all of those things are just words and performative. The difference, the distinction, in my opinion, is accountability. So you saying, Baba, that you sit down and you say, hey, you know what? I did the best I could, but here's the thing. I made some mistakes. I could have done this better.
That's right.
I didn't. That accountability, that's
like that.
everything. That's that's the healing. That's the bridge right there. But I did the best that I could. Get over it. Not good enough. That's my opinion. It's not, and the evidence, it's not working with the young people. They're not feeling that.
And see, this is what I hate. You see, I used to tell my kids back when they were little, if I made a mistake, I'd tell them when they were little, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
But Jay Lynn has brought us something else. My Southern Black grandmother was a bit different with my mom than with that grandchildren. She told us that she loved us, but not so much my mother and my uncle, because that was just her upbringing. True, like my, like me, I won't tell a lie. I'll tell my kids, hey, I'll tell my grandkids, I'll love the hell out of you. I'm not whipping your ass. Let your father and mother do it, because
Right.
you want to be different. You want to be different when it comes to you being the grandparent as opposed to the mom, and that's kind of hard. Scarlett 72 said, "You're right about two women in the same household." I felt envy from my mom at times, as she didn't accomplish things I did. It was hurtful, but understood why as I got older. This is a problem that sometimes, I don't know. My father didn't ever show jealousy, but I do think sometimes some moms become jealous of their children.
Oh yes, I don't know what that experience is like for a man. I couldn't even begin to qualify that, but I can absolutely tell you. Again, let's not ignore the environment, because we are a people in bondage. So there's that impact, but also the way that women are taught to deal with one another, in comparison, in competition, from a very young age, and that's what we teach females in the society that we live in. It's very likely that you will have a situation where a mother looks back at her daughter and sees missed opportunities. And there's something else that I think is interesting that we don't often think about. We talk a lot about reproductive rights now and abortion and all those types of things. The post-integration generation has to consider that many of our mothers did not have a choice. Now, I'm going to qualify that. You always have a choice. You can always go somewhere else. You can always take matters into your own hands. You always have a choice. But the way that we have a context for choice today about whether or not I want to be a parent, whether or not I want to be child free, whether or not I want one child or three children.
Yes.
Many of our mothers did not have a choice.
Which y'all had the clothes hanger?
Cotton root, brother.
Cotton root?
That was my brother. My brother generation did that. My brother, Mr. Ed, did that. He used the hanger.
Yeah.
Really? So
Yes.
I heard
things were very
back then that was actually somebody in your neighborhood you could go to And
Yes.
they'll go up
Yeah.
in there and get that out for you, huh?
Yeah,
Hmm.
but the only thing is it was consequences. Negus
Oh yeah.
Afro Negus said, "Why do Black American men love going live talking about Black women?" One of the reason we can go live talking about Black women is number one, we're very nosy. What I mean by that is that a lot of times a sister want to know how we think. We
Mm-hmm.
want to
Hmm.
know how sisters think. So, but if you notice, we have a sister here, and right now we're going to get right to her presentation. Are you ready?
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna do the presentation. So
Thank you.
you want to go to your slides and maybe talk to us about
Oh,
what's going on.
oh, it's up there. Okay. All right. Well, family, this is the Black Mother Wound. It is available at theblackmotherwound.com. You can also pick it up at Amazon, Kobo, and on Kindle. So please take a look. And so this is perfect. This answers the question of why. The audience member who just said, "Why are we doing this?" Well, this is our lovely sister, Dr. Nadine. It is Nadine. I want to say this right. Nadine Burke Harris. And you may be familiar with her, but she talks about how childhood trauma affects health across a lifetime. And she developed a tool called the ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences, where an individual can measure a sort of a predictive model of what type of determinants of health an individual will have based on their childhood development. And she's done a couple of studies, and there's actually an opportunity for you to take the ACEs test. It's 10 questions, and you can take it at acesaware.org. But the reason that we talk about this is because the roots of the Black Mother Wound, they run deep. They run really deep, and we can trace them all the way back to the brutality of enslavement that tore families apart and shattered that sacred bond between a mother and a child for our people. And that was the first, if you think about it, that was the first collective thought idea that was recorded by the first people. It was relationship. And that's what our lives are about for the most part. That's how we measure the success of our lives, is the relationships that we've built. And the one relationship that the world over, in every spiritual belief system, every peoples on the planet, holds the relationship between a mother and child as a sacred bond. So the impact of that relationship, it can follow us all the way through our lives, and it can actually predict our health. So that's something I would encourage everybody to take a look at, just to get an idea of what the model says for you. But this is why we talk about this, for healing our community. And this is also why, if you're familiar with the Georgetown Law Center, they did some studies back in 2017 and talked to adults across the US in various cities between the age, I think it was 12 and 60, and asked them about their perceptions of Black girls. And some of the things that they found was what they called an adultification bias. The majority of these people believe that Black girls routinely experience this bias, that it's linked to harsher treatment and higher standards for Black girls in school, that it's related to the negative stereotypes of Black women as angry, aggressive, hypersexualized, and it's projected onto Black girls at a very young age. They found that adults attempt to change Black girls' behavior to being more passive regularly. They found that educators and other authorities treat Black girls in inappropriate ways. They found that the factors that contribute to this bias include racism, sexism, and poverty. And overall, adults had less empathy for Black girls than their white peers. So this is why I do this. This is why we talk about this, because it's still ongoing in our community. We're still carrying the weight of this wound today. And everything we just talked about it is why we continue to do this. So in the Black Mother Wound, the book focuses on what I call a comedic centered thought remedy. And it is really a workbook of active inventories and writing prompts, and ceremonies to recover the Black daughter's divine identity through self-honesty, self-knowledge, self-acceptance, and self-determination. And all of those things are spiritual assets that we have to go back to overstand in the present. So one of the things that I talk about is that I use the term spiritual technology, because that's what our ancestors left us. Our ancestors, we don't have to recreate the wheel. Our ancestors left us really clear instructions. And a lot of that has been diluted and misdirected, and we've been misinformed about, but that's changing. But our ancestors chose to tell us something. And the one thing they chose to tell us was that the bond between the divine cosmic Black mother and her children is sacred. So the principle of Sankofa that we use, that I consider it technology. It tells us to look back in order to care for our future. So that's the answer also about why we talk about this. So one of the things that I do in the book, it's designed in a way that the inventories sort of lead the reader to conclusions or mindfulness about themselves. And what I did was I looked at the architecture of our temples. This is you can see the overlay of the Temple of Amun at Karnak. And if you look at that temple, the way that it's organized spatially, there is a forecourt, there are sections, and there's only one way to reach the Holy of Holies, which is at the very, very back of the temple. And we call the Holy of Holies, ourselves. We call our bodies the temple. We call it God's house. So I believe our ancestors were telling us that there is a way to move through ascension. And it's not just through the architecture. It's also through the writings, the many writings, the first thought idea, the Shabaka stone. It tells us that the way for us to advance in our consciousness is by traveling what's called the middle way. And that's apparent in the architecture, from the root through the heart to the Holy of the Holies, which is our mouth. If our bodies are our temples and the house of God, then the temple shows us this organization of our internal ecosystem or our internal environment. So you have the Hippostyle Hall, which is out at the feet, sort of at the bottom area. And this was the area where you had the wannabe priests and the self-proclaimed holy, or the people that were interested in spirituality. And I think this is where White Jesus chased the money changers out. But this is sort of a public praise area where pretty much anybody can spend time. But then we would call this the unconscious. We would call this the same type of unconsciousness that we see in babies. They pretty much only know I am. They don't have the tools to get their needs met. They cry when they're hungry. They cry when they're wet. They're not aware of anybody else's needs. This is also what you might call the root chakra, or aritu, the Kemetic word. This is the Aset principle. This is the I am. This is the death and the birth, the individual personal culture. So the pressure to control who we believe we are, that's not an imagined thing, but that's what goes on in that realm of our life. This is also the place that our beliefs are born from unconsciously. It's from unconsciousness. Everything that comes after I am, secretly with ourselves, the relationship that we build with ourselves, it's not what we feel we are. It's not what we say we are. It's what we really are. And that's our beliefs at the root that travels all the way down the middle way through our hearts, out our mouths. And it's all based on who we believe we are. And then this is also a time when you look at human development. This is a time where babies start to move into subconsciousness. So the next area there, we would say, this is when you begin to perceive others have needs. You're aware of being perceived. And that would be I think it's the forecourt hall. This is the place where the patrons and the people that had money and were serious about their spiritual commitment, they were able to enter into that area. But you continue to travel through the middle way, and it pays honor to Ma'at, to the balance, the equilibrium, the harmony. And you continue this journey with mindfulness through each of these areas, and hopefully reaching to the crown, Aratu, to a higher level of awareness in your life, in your relationships, through being honest with yourself, knowing what it is that is your wound or how the wound impacts you or your family, and having the willingness to even have this conversation. It's not a conversation that a lot of people want to have in our community. So a lot of the book is aimed at one particular area that I've identified of trauma in the Black mother wound, and that is our conversation, what comes out of our mouths. And the very first documented thought idea by the very first people, our ancestors, was the Shabaka stone. And on the Shabaka stone, it says, the heart and the tongue have power over all the Neteru, gods, angels, Elohim, all men, all cattle, all creeping things, all that lives. The heart thinks all that it wishes, and the tongue delivers all that it wishes. So that certainly includes our children. That's the journey that I believe will support the healing of the Black mother wound in our community. It's that awareness of our conversation. So the way that the book is organized is the thought remedy portion of it is based on a version of the trauma-informed approach that settlers use for substance abuse addiction. So we can find our own individual middle way, which is different for everybody in every situation and every relationship. But it's using the 4 R's of what's called trauma-informed approach, which is realizations. So we look at realizations about the Black mother wound, how it affects individuals and the collective, how it's affected us, how it's affected our mothers, our grandmothers, our sisters, our sons, and our community. And the next step in the inventory process, we start to recognize the beliefs that form our attitudes, our behaviors, and our conversations. So our attitudes, behaviors, and conversations, they can diminish or they can promote consciousness. And that's for ourselves, but also when we're talking about a child, we can also promote or diminish their consciousness and their journey. We can do that before they even get on the road and on the path to becoming who they are. So we have a choice every time we open our mouths to promote a child's consciousness or to diminish it. And I think that also speaks to honoring Ma'at and making a choice, whatever it looks like in our own journey, to be aware of that, to recognize that. And it's powerful to be able to recognize that in ourselves and in our families around us. It gives us the opportunity to make better choices about responding, of course, because any belief system that we practice, we may have trouble responding all the time to other people's trauma. Sometimes we may react to it. We see a lot of this in the popular media surrounding our culture. And a lot of it can be identified as trauma. And I will say that you might notice my hashtag on some videos that I watch. I'll hashtag it. Black trauma is not Black culture. That's not what our culture is. And a lot of our trauma is on display as culture right now. And of course, finally, is to be able to resist that re-traumatization. Because just because we do the work and take the journey and do the shadow work, and we're able to sit down and be honest with ourselves about our character defects, about our character assets, just because we do that doesn't mean that the people around us change. It doesn't mean that at all. And everyone is in their process working through their own trauma. So we have to be careful to learn how to effectively master ourselves in the environment that we're in. So our ancestor Tehuti, or as some call him Thoth, told us that all these guides reside in you. Know thyself, and to Ma'at be true. So self-reflection, knowing ourselves, this is critical if we intend to master ourselves And we want to move away from mimicking the mastery of ourselves, of our Black bodies. Our ancestors taught the middle journey begins with an honest and fearless appraisal of our beliefs. What do we believe about Black motherhood? What do we believe about our own mothers, about our sisters, our daughters, ourselves, our community? What do we believe about divine or sacred relationships? And that the most divine and sacred relationship of all. What do we believe about these things? And what do we perceive that affirms those beliefs? There's a huge difference between belief and perception. And we have to be careful that our perceptions don't inform our beliefs. So, for instance, Baba was relating that his mom wasn't particularly affectionate and saying, I love you and come here, give me a hug and all those types of things. We may perceive that and say, oh, okay, well, that means she doesn't love you. That doesn't mean that the belief matches that. We all believe that our mothers love us. We're born with that innate belief. But what we perceive, do we let it change that belief? Or do we let the belief tell us that what we're perceiving in our mother's behavior is always loving just because we love our mothers and every mother loves their child? Do we believe that so intrinsically? Are we so committed to that belief that we will ignore certain types of behavior, that will doubt certain types of behavior and say, well, that doesn't mean she doesn't love you. That doesn't mean that. And sometimes it does. So we have to be careful about distinguishing between our beliefs and our perceptions. And one of the ways that we do that is getting honest with ourselves about what we believe. And that's a journey. That is the shadow work, being really honest about that. And there's a lot of conversations we can have with ourselves and the people we care about what we believe about Black motherhood. We happen to live in a population that constantly besets us with messages that the problem is Black people. So the problem is Black motherhood. And I'll refer to our brother Rev Shach, who said there's nothing wrong with Black motherhood. Something happened to it. So we need to be aware of that in our journey when we're trying to respond and we're trying to work through and hold our own water so that we don't pass the wounds along. Let's see. So, oh darn. Okay. Well, sorry about that, fam. It looked a lot neater when I did it, but basically, this is just an overview of some of the areas or some of the chapters that are or inventories that are included in the book, some of the different areas. Honesty, self-delusion and dishonesty, cognitive dissonance, the crumbly edges. And I believe my sisters are familiar with that place. They know what I mean by that. Esteemable food. How do we build self-esteem? Through esteemable behavior and esteemable food. Powerlessness. This is, again, that journey of self-acceptance and self-knowledge, understanding what we are powerless to change in our own lives and someone else's life. And surrender. What does it look like to surrender and accept that our mothers are who they are and love them as they are? And forgiveness. There's a distinction between forgiveness and reconciliation. We can forgive and we can choose not to be a part of a situation that doesn't raise us to our highest vibration. So we can do all of those things, and we can do it with what our brother Resmaa Menakem calls clean pain, which is a fabulous idea. I really like. He talks about clean pain. He talks about being able to say, I have been wounded, and to own that place, take accountability for it, get rid of the shame, get rid of the regret, get rid of the guilt, get rid of the active wounding, and let it rest. Because I don't think that we just have that thing of it's in the past, move on, did the best we could. I don't really think that's effective. So there is a way to process our trauma into clean pain where we can own it and we can be aware of it and move through it. So that's just a snippet and overview of what the book's about and what's included. And I invite you to stop by theblackmotherwound.com. There's a graffiti wall up where you can share your story, share your experience, strength, and hope. about, you know, how you've taken that journey, or if you have or know someone who has, because it's helpful. This is a dialogue that a lot of us are not comfortable having, because no matter what, you got to respect mama. And it can be difficult to say, you know, I am wounded in that area, or I am suffering in that area, or hurt in that area. So there's a graffiti wall there where you can put it all up. And I invite you to stop by the site, to follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places. And I want to thank Baba and Yoshimad so much for inviting me to share with you, fam. And I wish healing over all of us. I hope we all take the journey. We all do our shadow work. But we've got to hold our own water in this. And the best I could, not cutting it so much anymore.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love, like you say, do the shadow work.
Yeah.
It all begins with that shadow work, y'all, right?
Mhm.
Do you want to stop presenting?
Yes, go ahead. I'm not sure how to do that, but yes, you
That's
can
what's
go
up.
ahead, take it down.
Well, it just says stop sharing. Do you see
Oh,
where?
okay.
Yeah, just go there.
Okay, it's
It's
down.
beautiful. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a conversation that's uncomfortable. It really is for us in our community. We hold mothers at a great esteem, and honestly, I think that's an epigenetic trait as well. We come from a culture originally and a population who was aware of the great cosmic Black mother. You know, we had motherhood outside of gender roles, outside of all of those types of things. We gave it a principle in nature. Motherhood is a principle that we acknowledged and honored in nature. So in the population that we live in now, um, that relationship has been corrupted on a lot of levels, but we still hold mothers in high esteem. But it's difficult in our community to say, hey, you know, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Not everyone is excited about Mother's Day. Not everyone is having a healthy experience. And a lot of people are out there trying to figure out how to do that on their own.
You know, that's an important thing, and I think that that's something that's very important. I remember back in the day when Mother's Day would come, I'd had to get something for my mother,
Me
my
too.
grandmother, my mother-in-law, my wife. You know,
Oh wow.
and yeah, you
Everybody.
know, because see, and it was kind of fun though, because you know I felt that that's one of the things that you could try to show them your love. You know, but then
Mm.
my wife would always say about my kids, I wish they stopped giving me candy. All it's doing is make my ass get fatter. It didn't get fat, no. But anyway, but the thing is this, I think this is very important. Um, you know, um, you know, Maked, can you kind of explain? You know, you have a lot of lessons in the book. Can you
Mm.
kind of explain why the lessons are important, and how the individual can use those lessons to really impact on and changing their trauma or decreasing their trauma?
Yeah, I think mindfulness is the most important thing. You know, and I will say forgiveness. Forgiveness is critical in that journey as well, in the shadow work journey. Not only forgiving our mothers, but forgiving ourselves for not having the answers, not having the right response, being triggered sometimes, saying things we don't mean to say, feeling ways we don't want to feel. Being comfortable with that and having compassion for ourselves and saying, you know, I don't have the answers. I don't know how this is supposed to look. This is my first time being a daughter. This is my first time, you know, and it's her first time being a mother. So one of the things I do talk about, because like I said, and this is an interesting topic that a lot of people have an opinion on, but I do believe that we as Black women um, definitely need to master our conversation and what comes out of our mouths. I think that we have we have a space where we perform and modulate our contempt, our frustration, our how we are degraded in everyday life. And we go out into the community, into our workspaces, and to public, and we have a modulation of that. But we don't carry that same energy for our children. There are things that we will say to our children that we won't say in front of the public, and ways that we won't behave in public spaces towards our children. I think that's something to look at. I think that if we have a second set of behaviors that are reserved for children in private, then that is a red flag. That's something that says that we want to consolidate that, and we want to be the same person and model the conflict resolution, model the behavior for boundaries. We want to model all of those things because it's going to be mimicked.
You know, I look at the whole thing of moms. I look at women generally. I look at them from the outside. I'm an outsider, and because I'm an outsider, you know, because I know I know that as a man we get together, and I notice my sons, not me, because I'll tell you exactly how the hell I feel no matter what. But I notice, you know, when you know during the football season, you know, they'll come over to the house, and then their friends will come over to the house. Then they'll start drinking, you know. And while they're drinking, they'll start talking about themselves, hurts, pains, etc. And so since I'm the only one sober, well, they probably not drunk either. But since I'm the only one not drinking, I always felt that men would confide or put out some of their personal feelings when they're drinking. I always felt because in a way they felt that the brother listening to feel, oh, that's not really how they really are. They just drunk. But I know that's how they really are. But it's a way that we can disguise it. Do you think? I'm gonna ask you this question, and maybe I'm going too far, but you know, Kat, do you ever think sometimes that people won't allow women to be who they really are, and that sometimes women have to be who they think people want them to be? I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you kidding? That is, yes, absolutely. That is one of the biggest pressures that I am aware of as a feminine in imperialist capitalist patriarchy and white supremacy as bondage, as a population. Yes, there are very clear rules about femininity, about womanhood, that were established a long time ago, and they did not include the Black woman. They were not built for the Black woman. The idea of the vapors and the dainty, pure white womanhood, that even that birthing a child, giving birth to a child, this was unseen, this was unspeakable, this is something that women went away to do because it was somehow dirty or secretive. Men aren't allowed in the room. That whole thing, that wasn't our tradition. There were no taboos attached to reproduction, to even the idea of bastardization and having bastard children. All of those things are the direct result of our proximity to the white settler worldview. It has nothing to do with how femininity was regarded or designed by the first peoples. And what we're dealing with today in terms of gender roles and identifying and all the rest, yes, the pressure on the feminine principle, especially the Black woman, who the society that we live in was not designed for. The beauty standards, we were basically relegated to a couple of different places. There was the Jezebel, there was, you know, the what was it, the Hottentot. There are all these ideas about lasciviousness and promiscuity, and you know, through the experience of enslavement and being bred and being experimented on. Our bodies are literally made of our ancestors' bodies who endured unspeakable brutality as Black women. And the process of caring for our children was part of that brutality. So we still see the remnants of that today, I believe, in the sisterhood. And there is a lot of pressure amongst one another. We have been raised to compare and to compete with one another. You know, it's really common that there's this conversation that a lot of people have had where you see a Black mother sit down and a white mother sit down, let's say at the karate class while the kids are taking the lessons. And the white mother says, oh, I'm just so proud of little Biff. He's just doing so well in school. He's doing so well in his classes. It's just wonderful. And the Black mother says, well, you know, I can't do anything with Jaquan. That boy gets on my nerves. I'm just tired of him. He don't listen. He don't do nothing. He's a mess. I don't even know why I had him. And that's a really common thing. But here's the thing. That's an epigenetic holdover, and it's almost instinctual because we come from almost 500 years of training. Please don't take my child. My child is worthless. You don't want my child. My child is slow. My child is not going to be a good worker. They're not going to be a good quarter hand. They don't listen. They drop things. I think they might have something wrong with them. You don't want little Jaquan. You just leave him here. There's a reason that it's difficult for some women to access sort of a pride or the legacy of childhood as a joyous, amazing miracle event that is a privilege. There's a reason that we as Black women have not had that experience in bondage. So there are a lot of behaviors that we take for granted. And again, that's a behavior that we call Black culture. It's not Black culture. When a Black mother disparages her own child, that's not Black culture.
Jalen said that for a young Black woman who would like to have a child of my own someday, I believe this dialect is important in education for our people in the next generation of mothers and fathers. Come here. I believe we do need this discussion. I saw you smiling a couple of times, Yoshi. What was running through your mind?
I hear that about the mothers, and I was just going in my head back in the day when I was growing up, and the type of songs that I heard describing our mothers. So one song in particular that made me really look at my mother in a different way, because I love how you said, Baquette, it's one of them things. The women had years of being trained to say, man, I'm tired of that boy. That boy needs to get his act together, act just like his dad. God damn. Look at him, how he walking every goddamn thing, man. This boy, I can't do nothing with his hard head.
Yeah.
So we hear all that because, my mom was talking about me.
Yeah.
I was the hard head, just like, doing everything I wanted to do. Didn't know my dad, but had my dad traits.
Yes.
She'll say, boy, I swear, you walk and talk just like Wilbert. And I'll be like, I don't even know him, and she'll laugh and she'll say, boy, y'all, man, that dude can't deny you at all, because God, y'all act alike. So going back to one of the songs I heard growing up, and I noticed that the narrative changed because I'm really into music and media. And in music, the culture, because I love how you say all this negative, everything that happened to us that we had to learn to protect ourselves, protect reading, protect family, protect our intellect, protect all that. We had to tell whoever held us captive, no matter who it was, hey man, nah, I'm slow. I don't know nothing. I'm just a nigga. Hey, look, I don't know how to do none of that, boss. Hey,
boss.
I can't do none of that, boss. But we know goddamn well we can run laps around that dude, no matter who it was. So one of the songs I heard was an artist named Tupac Shakur. And Tupac Shakur came out with a song called Dear Mama.
Yes,
and
I remember
in that song, he actually made a video for it. So normally you hear songs like that, and that's not the single. He made this song a single and put it out there. Not even to sell, but it was for us. I thought that was deep. It wasn't for marketing. You can't market Dear Mama. People don't want to, in the 90s, nobody want to hear how black people raising they black mothers up. I mean, we see it a little bit on TV with the Good Times and stuff, like a little bit of it, but we don't really get that praise, that praisal. Now, he did it and dedicated a whole song and put it on the airwaves, and we was forced to hear it on the radio. That's true. Is what I'm talking about, changing the narrative. That brother did some shadow work, and he did it to a point to where he acknowledged his mother being a crack fiend. He said, even
Mhm.
though you was a crack fiend
Still
mama,
love
you
you.
always was a black queen mama. Now,
Exactly.
we hear that even today. He's saying, even though you messed up,
Mhm.
even though I seen you weren't able to feed us, you weren't able to nurture us, even though times was hard, you was still there whenever I was sick.
Mm.
You was still there nurturing me. You still made it a way to put food on the table. You still made it a way to have clothes on my back. So when I looked at my mother, and I had a not a silver spoon, but it was quite close. I I really appreciated my mother,
Yeah.
like big time. Especially when I got older, I was like, God dang, man, this woman doing everything. So my cousin, he would always get Jordans, and I would always have Converse and like $20 shoes, $10 shoes.
Mhm.
And my mother asked me one day, she said, "You want me to buy you some Jordans?" And I said, "Well, mommy, look, Jordans cost $150. You could get me 5 pair of shoes with Jordans for 1 pair of Jordans." And she looked at me and was like, "What the? I'm offering this
How
boy
you do
Jordan," and
that?
she never forgot it. And she said, "You know what? I looked at you different. You see how it works. So now my mother looking at me different, like, God dang, man, a boy actually knows, you know." And she taught me later. She say, whenever somebody offer you a gift, just accept it. But thank you, Mom. Now I accept everything. Just come, bring it, please. I ain't gonna say nothing. Look, you $1,000 for what? Nothing. Yeah, look, yeah. All right, but now I heard "Dear Mama," and that's why I was smiling, because I felt that, and then here you go, everybody. And then I heard Eminem come out with a song, the opposite of us,
Oh,
and
that's
he
right.
came out with a song called "I Hate You, Mama."
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Now,
Yes.
when he did this,
Yeah.
we was kind of confused, because Tupac said, even though you was a crack fiend, I still love you. Even though you did all this, I still love you. And then you got this white boy saying, F you, mama,
Yeah.
you F my life up, and
Yeah.
my kids ain't gonna be able to, when they get older, you better pray Haley will see you, and she won't, and I hate your guts. I mean, he's going hard in it, and he talks about how his mama was a drug addict. I mean,
Yeah.
she was doing pills and shit, but she wasn't doing crack like Tupac mama. But this dude had enough energy to write on a piece of paper, perform in the studio on a instrumental track that a black man created that beats women. To see, we have to look at the depthness in all this to allow any of this. Second frequency, psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Raised
so we have
psychopath.
to look at who put this person in this position and allowed him to do it. So when we look at Dr. Dre, like how you said, it's trauma, trickle effect. We look at Dr. Dre, who made the beat. He beats women. So
Trauma.
he will make a track for this young pasty brother to get up in there and spit his pasty thoughts
Yep.
on the track,
Venom.
down in his own mother. And
Venom.
this Negro allowed it to happen and pushed the buttons and pushed it and made it go, and said, yeah, the A&R is going to love this song, put this on the album. See, we just think that these MCs going in the studio and just saying, blah, 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 and then that's it. Nah, man, there's more to it. They got to have people to listen. That's why I love you, Paquette. Paquette broke it down, and she said, look, this is layered. This
Yes.
stuff is layered. It goes
Yes.
deep. Before you blame that one person, you better
Mhm.
look at all the many behind it that have created that one entity. Because that
Yes.
one entity ain't coming up with it on his own. Like Paquette said, I'm not here to recreate the wheel. Man,
Right.
the ancestors already got it mapped out, just like
Yes.
them. So the opposite, as above, so below. So we got all
That's
the
right.
good shit mapped out. They got all the negative shit mapped out. And they're like,
Yes.
okay, you want to go this route? We're going to boom, 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 and slap your packet and
Anti.
sell it.
Yes.
How you
Anti.
doing? How you doing, Cheryl Lynn and
That's what all that.
Create So Junior? You know
What
the
up?
what I like about this is this whole idea is that I think that
Yeah.
that the difference I think between Eminem and Tupac was this whole idea of cognition. I'm a cognitivist. I'm going to tell you,
Mhm.
as a cognitivist, I think that everybody needs to think. You need to think about things. You need to think about what you're doing. But let's take a few minutes and we're gonna go look at a couple of commercials. So everybody, let's go there.
Yeah. What's up, David Howard?
This thing does not want to work for me.
Create Soul. What's up? Tupac wouldn't perform with Dre on Saturday Night Live because he said, yeah. We already know Dre was
Oh,
they Suge Knight said it. If you got multiple people saying it, man, come on, dude. Tupac really ain't never lied. He really spoke just like how Dr. Clive said, tell the truth. You
yep.
know,
Shame the devil.
yeah, tell the truth, shame the devil. That's what my mother taught me.
That's right.
Tell the truth,
That's
shame the
right.
devil.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I
what
do
goes
not
on with them, man.
I do not know why my thing does not want to work on this computer lately. I wanted to play the commercials, but looks like they're not going to come up.
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to play.
Yeah, and I can't play them unless you know. But again, maybe it's one of those things. This happened to me the other day, so it's this is getting to be it's getting to be frustrating. But I'm going to work on it. I'll have to practice somehow.
Yeah,
But
it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing.
okay, how you doing, Rodney Burden, David Howard? The thing is this is that it's very important in the sense that we think back about these great people because the music. I was listening to Dr. B. Sirius, I think that's his name, and
Oh,
he's
yes.
talking about, he's talking about in a sense how you can make a beat, you can make the music, you can make people, do various things. I know certain music make me want to go to war. Certain music make me want to
The
Right.
frequencies,
relax.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. What's up,
yes.
Rhonda Lewis? Yeah, the
I actually have
frequencies.
there's actually a section in my book where I talk about the frequency of the sound
Perfect.
coming out
Perfect.
of our mouths. There are
Mhm.
certain frequencies, and I talk about the water experiments. And there is a frequency of love. There's a frequency of contempt, and we know this. We know we've heard our mothers' voices drop, and that contempt of you bet. The down. You better. You. It starts with you better, and
Yep.
it's down here, and it's even. You better. You now you know we know those vibrations and we respond to them because we are water. So I actually talk about that in the book. I talk about water ceremonies
Mhm.
and offsetting some of that vibration and being aware of how we're vibrating when we speak, when we share dialogue, our attitudes. Before we say a word, we vibrate. Many of us have had an experience with someone who hasn't said a word, but we have picked up everything from a
Everything.
vibration,
Yeah.
a look. These
Yep.
are real things. And again, like you said, my brother King, our ancestors laid all of this out for us. This is not a new idea. There's an active agenda and campaign to make sure we don't have this information, that we don't know how to utilize it,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't know about this technology, because it's technology.
Yes.
We've been told technology is something that brings us convenience. No, it's not. That's not what technology is. So we have access to that. We created it.
Perfect.
We know how to use it. It's in our bodies at a molecular level. We have access to this information. So there's an agenda to make sure that we don't use it and we don't know about it. But it's real.
I got a question. Baba, what do you feel about the Shabaka stone? Because I noticed that Baquette spoke on the
Mm.
Shabaka stone as far as like this is like the introduction to everything, and I noticed that if people in the audience don't understand Shabaka stone and shadow work, then this book is gonna be kind of like, huh? You gotta know what's up with the Shabaka stone, and you gotta know what shadow work is, and know that shadow work is not dealing with demons,
No,
monkeys,
gosh,
devils
no.
in a closet. It ain't nothing about that. I want. I asked you, Dr. Clyde, about the Shabaka, and I asked you about Paquette about shadow work. the importance of both of them.
Well,
Okay.
the Shabaka stone, it's very important. It gives you an idea. It gives you an idea about reality, but I look at life a little different. I look at life from the perspective in the sense is that everything is important, but the most important thing is this: is that it's the first law of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. As a result, I feel that, and then we go back to the Bible, and the Bible says in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God. And then we go back to when Beckett was talking about the word, the water and the word and the mouth. And so then to me, in a sense, is that to me, what I think about in terms of reality, and everybody has reality based upon their own perceptions. I think that we should be careful. I think that we should try to, in a sense, understand that we manipulate everything. Nothing dies. You know, every word we say, it exists and it doesn't disappear. It doesn't disappear. It's out there. So then, therefore, you know, the Shabaka stone is there to help you to realize somewhat what reality is. But at the same time, in a sense, I feel that we have to be individuals. See, we talk a lot about reincarnation. I don't believe in reincarnation. I believe in incarnation. You see, I see the world as a circle. I see time as a circle, and I think we jump in and out. You know, before my wife died, I know I've said this many times. Before my wife died, she said, "Clyde, you know, we're in Italy right now, and I'm your mistress, you know, and I'm working for you." And I said,
Wow.
I wish I was him. He was young and he can still act like a monkey.
I created.
I want to be that young Clyde.
You don't see your thumbnails? That's him. That's the guy. That's the guy.
But again, as I said, is that how you doing, Rhonda Lewis? You know what I understand is this: is that there's incarnation. See, I know that I'm living many lives. I know that I'm here to learn in a way. But then again, I'm here to carry out certain things. I had a principal once. And so this principal came, my favorite principal, she died in 2010. And after that, and you know, we were the top school in the district. And that was mainly because the fact is that my principal would listen to me. And so I told my principal with practice, we had really high test scores, everything. And she was the highest paid principal in the district. And so they sent all these people who used to be jealous of her to me. And so this one lady came, her name was Miss Anderson. And this woman, she just hated me so much. I used to put salt down at her office. I put salt at her office. And I put salt at my door so that it made it better even when she came.
Did it work?
You know, red brick dust? You didn't have any red brick dust?
Right, because that salt wasn't enough. You had to do some more with that, brother.
And some black tar, whatever. But then, then I started thinking. I said that the way this woman is coming at me, I said maybe I did something to her, and I prayed to God. I said, God, please forgive me. Please forgive me for my sins. Please, if I hurt this woman, please forgive me. And I hope that all the people I hurt will forgive me, and I want to forgive all the people because see, I believe that I signed a contract to come down here. Since I signed a contract to be down here, I had to leave. I had to live this incarnation, and because I had to live this incarnation, if I commit suicide, I got to come back and finish my contract.
That's true.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't want to come back.
Don't void
that bill's gonna come due one way or another.
I don't want to avoid it, and so what I'm happy about is that I was lucky enough in life. I never had a lot of money, but my wife made me happy. I had a good friend, and I'm still happy. So because I'm happy, I can see other people, and I want them to be happy. See, I hear a lot of people say hurt people hurt people. I don't believe that. I believe assholes. I believe assholes hurt people. Assholes hurt people.
It ain't hurt people.
Right
people.
on.
You can
yes.
point that out. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
done.
you.
Nah.
Because every one of us has been hurt at a time.
That's
and
right.
then in a sense, we still keep on going. How you doing, Mr. Harrison?
All right. I had all right. So, Paquette, now you got with the Shabaka stone. So, for the
Okay.
audience, the Shabaka stone, how important that is on how you live your life and how
Mm-hmm.
we actually go with the Kemetic science on all this. Now, the shadow work part. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what is shadow work, Paquette Mayat Satra? Please.
Okay, so we have a long you hear a lot of things in popular social media, a lot of people talking about shadow work, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
real popular idea of it right now, which means basically just consciousness, being cognitively aware or woke or all those types of things. But our relationship with that understanding of shadow work, it goes much deeper into our own background and ancestry. Just like Baba said, our Bible tells us the power of life and death is in the tongue. This is all about what we speak. And our ancestors had a ceremony that is actually on the walls of Dendera that was called Wepit Air. And this was part of the burial ceremony. And it involved opening the mouth. It's actually the translation of Wepit Air is the opening of the mouth. So when someone was sent on their journey, which, as you know, to have their Akh or their spirit weighed against the feather of Ma'at, that was taken from the mouth. And just recently, there were, that's right, on a scale. Just recently, not too long ago, some of our ancestors were dug up in the name of white
Yeah.
settler science,
Mhm.
and they had 24 karat gold tongues that they had been buried with. So there is a process and a ceremony and a ritual for when Anubis comes and opens the way to allow your Akh, your spirit form, to move into the next incarnation, and that's through your mouth. So we can draw a direct relationship, a correlation between our spirits, our shadow, our Akh, what we don't see, and what we will be measured against. And so the maintenance in that shadow, in that Akh form, one of the things I talk about is the structures we build for failure and fear. And if you think of it as a house that you just never stop building, every time there's some guilt, some regret, some failure or conflict,
So
we
this
build
is
another
never
room.
ending, never
Never,
ending.
never ending. We just build another room, we stuff it in there, and we shut the door. And when we got all that rhetoric about it's in the past, we're going to move on. Well, no, when your time comes and the opening of the mouth occurs, every single room in that house, the doors fling open. And if nobody's been doing any maintenance in those rooms and checking the corners, and getting the cobwebs out and making sure these traumas aren't just coming up and creating more hurt people because of the excuse that you're hurt, well, that's what's going to be measured. So
So
we want to make sure that that house is clean.
you're saying go into here and
Yes.
then go through
Yes.
everything. See, a lot of people don't like to go in there. They get scared. They be
That's a
like,
scary place, man. That's a scary place. Come on now.
yeah. But when you start it, it you do feel a sense of healing, right? Like
Yes.
when you do
Yes.
start it.
Yes. And
Because
and
if
it
you don't start now,
process.
what's the difference between starting it and not starting at all? Like, where does
Well,
that
I'll
go?
tell you, in my opinion, this
Uh
is
huh.
this is my considered opinion. People who don't do this work, they
Hmm.
will eventually get stuck in a loop of stories that they tell themselves.
Now, this the
Uh,
same loop Dr. Clyde was talking about is saying
exactly,
time is a circle,
exactly.
meaning you're
Yeah,
gonna go through this repeat again. So
yes,
you're saying that the shadow work is necessary in order
absolutely.
for you to actually see the full picture on your whole life and
Yes.
everything else in it. Oh
And
wow.
remember, we've been charged with getting through this experience with a
Oh.
heart that is as light as a feather.
Mm.
Okay, so that Akh form, that spirit, that do you imagine the kind of stuff
Uh,
that's in the corner of these rooms, these
I love
structures
it.
we build for failure? And we want to be able to take that whole house of all these rooms we've been filling this
Yeah.
whole life. I broke up with this person and I called them all kinds of things and
Hmm.
set their trash can on fire. And I closed the door on that room and went about my business. Well, when the time comes, those things weigh something. They have
Right.
a weight to them. They have a physical weight of the other lives that you touch. And like Baba said, the things that we say, they don't disappear. When they do this, the ceremony to open the mouth, and to allow the Akh to be transferred into the underworld, there's a weight, there's a size, there's a volume to our Akh,
Peacemaker.
to our spirit.
Now,
So
another question. Now,
okay.
when you open up and you, what I was, all right, I talked to a friend of mine. Now, a friend of mine said that she have went through the trauma and she
Mhm.
don't want to think about it, don't want to relive it. Now, what do you say to that to a person that needs to do shadow work? So, like, is that's
I
not?
say,
Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I say you're not being honest with yourself. Um,
Mm,
Human beings don't work that way.
mm. It's gonna come
PTSD
back
has
up.
shown us that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
PTSD has shown us that. PTSS has shown us that. Um, it will show up again. It'll show up in the next generation. It'll show up in other relationships. It'll show up in work relationships. Our relationships, the way we relate to one another, we live in an environment that tells us that separation is a real thing, but it's not. None of us are separated. There's no such thing. We are all touching. We're on the internet a million miles away from each other, and we all breathe in the same air, the same oxygen. We're sharing oxygen and
Now,
light right now.
I had another thought. I like
Mhm.
you. Yeah, but cat's tight. Yeah. All right,
I
let's
like you
get in
too,
it.
Brother King. Right on.
Let's
Let's
get it.
do
Let's
it.
get it. Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
do it.
So, I was looking at a documentary on KRS One, and KRS One he spoke about on what Baba Clyde spoke about as far as it just continues, the circle
Mhm.
continues. So he was saying that I'm gonna put yours and his together, and I'm just gonna come up with. I'm gonna create this as I go. So
Okay.
basically, it's like getting your knowledge and reading this book and blending it together, knowing that you have to do the shadow work and then perfecting shadow work. So once you get over the trauma, then once you see that trauma, it doesn't affect you anymore because you like, oh yeah, I've been through that
Oh,
before. Yeah, 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 I remember that. Yeah, that
yes.
because it made you tougher. So what? That's where they get what can I kill me? What make me stronger? So
Yes.
KRS One stated that I believe once you get to your level of mastering, because I believe once you go through the shadow work and then you will
Mhm.
go through it again, you damn near master it because it's your story, it's your
Yes.
timeline. You
Yes.
know,
That's right.
he said what you can do is, even Baba, you can go in the future and tell your future self some new information that will relate to your present self. Like you could go to your past self and you can give that information to your past self and it will help you out in the present because the only thing that is not what we can create right now is the present and the past, but we can always create the future. So we're
That's true.
always in the future. Right
Mhm.
now, we believe we're in the present, but soon as I open my breath and say I'm in the present, that is a past statement. So I'm constantly living in the future of now, but I can go in my present, in my past, even in a further future, and give
Mhm.
myself some advice. Now, yeah, yeah, you know about that, right? I'm
I
not
think
far off
you're
that.
talking about the Akashic records and being able to access the Akashic records and
Absolutely, to get the Akashic
but
record because people think the Akashic records is separated from you.
no.
but see, but you have to have the right language. You have to have the right language. And
Uh
see,
oh. Uh
often
oh.
when you got a white mind, when you got a
Mm-hmm.
white
Mm.
mind or you got a coon mind,
Aids,
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times,
Kate.
a lot of times you're not going to be able to get the information because they're
That's
not
right.
going to be able to relate to you. You see,
That's right.
that's one of the reasons why. See, a lot of brothers always say, they used to ask me and David Imhotep, may he rest in power. They always say, okay, David, you Arapaho and you Navajo, ho ho ho, and okay, Dr. Winters, you're Choctaw. Why do y'all keep saying we're black?
Mm.
And see, I would say I'm saying you're black because even though they said we were copper colored, they described us. They described us in the settlers described us as black. But I said
Mhm.
even more so than that is that the Egyptians said they were coming true. They were the black people, and they lived
Mhm.
in Kemet, the black land. And so I said, if you're coming with them being B1, and you really believe in supporting each other, then your
Yeah.
constant records are there. You know, I was talking to Dewan B the other day, and Dewan B was talking about now that he's doing a lot of research on our musical genres. You know what he says? He'll say something. He'll say something before he go to bed, and when you wake up, then God will show him the books. I used to be able to do that back in the day. And see, that's what you're talking. You guys are talking about in terms of shadow work. See,
That's right.
but the beauty, I'm gonna tell you, family, the beauty of Bakette's book, the beauty of our book is that she has exercises in there where you can write it out. See, the minute you say something, the minute you write it out and reread it, you've made it real. See, a lot of times if you don't never discuss something, then it has no reality. It has no reality. That's why you can think any old silly thought or mean thought in your mind, and it doesn't affect anybody, anything, and it's not part of the universe. But once you open up your mouth, it becomes part of the universe, and then as it becomes part of the universe, it gives you power. See, power.
Yes. That's why we spell our words. That's why we have the word grammar, which comes from grimoire, which is a French word, which means book of spells and magic. And our ancestors, again, Hermes Trismegistus, these documents are out there. The Shabaka stone, they told us about the power of speech, about the power of true speech. That's why we honor Ma'at. The most powerful thing on the planet is the truth. Truth and speech, it's timeless. You can do whatever you want to do, but a spoken truth, it exists.
But you know, I remember when I used to would never tell a lie. I'd tell you the truth right up. And then my mother-in-law used to say, "You're gonna stop that." I said, no, I'm always gonna do that. She said, the more kids you have, you're gonna stop that. And she was right, because see, when I wanted to get them food stamps, I had to tell a lie. When I wanted to get maybe some aid for a while, unemployment checks, I had to tell a lie. And so then in this civilization, it makes it hard for you to survive.
You can't get a good job out here with telling the truth. You get on your resume and tell the truth and see how that's gonna go.
You doing cool, dude?
It's not an accident. It's not an accident that we're placed in positions where we have to be less than honest. I just heard today that even singing happy birthday is part of a ritual. None of these things are an accident. Yeah, none of these things are an accident.
That don't blow out the candle.
A lot of the things that we've inherited as culture, it is trauma based, and it is antibiotic. It is against life. A lot of these things we take them for granted, and we're not conscious, and we're not thinking about it. But Bob, me personally, I absolve you from any guilt about lying to your transgressors.
Right.
I believe that chief amongst our duties is to survive.
You know, it was just like my mom and dad. Oh, that's right. If I would have told, I said, Mom and Dad, I said, Daddy-O. I call my father Daddy-O. My oldest son called me Daddy-O too, so maybe he got it from me. But anyway, like you know, I told my mom, we was talking, me and my mom and Daddy was talking. I said, you really told me that I should be a thief. And they said, no, we didn't. They said, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. We didn't teach you to be a thief. I said, yes, you did. I said, you taught me that anything the white man had, I had a right to take it because he took it from us. Ooh. I was just telling you stuff. But I said, if I would have took that literal, then I could have became a crook. I could be in jail today because you taught me that whatever they got, I got a right to take it because they took it from us. And so then, but a lot of times they didn't hear that. My father talking about, going in people, going and stealing the white man watermelons, busting them open, going to do this, going to do that. It's these different things, but see, we don't really understand a lot of this stuff because we don't understand, we don't understand this whole idea of the importance of the word. We take we take words for granted. You know, we take
Oh
words for granted.
wow! I brought you into this world. I'll take you out.
Right. I
Well,
I
got
mean,
yeah,
that's the heavy one for me. Come on
Like
now.
like
So,
I said on our last one, I have my wife's uncle killed his son.
mhm.
So he lived by that statement. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right about that.
Rest in peace.
I
Rest
know
in
that's
peace.
right. Yeah, our respect to the
Um,
young man.
it,
But yeah,
we, you know, that's why I said the conversation.
the
This is one of the
words.
areas of trauma that I think that we really need to look at, because again, that's not Black culture. That is Black trauma that we would say to
right.
our
Right.
And
child that
we
depends on us to survive, to breathe, to be
Yeah.
fed, for shelter. The one individual that they arrive here believing that they can
You
depend
know.
on to tell them that I will harm you if
Yeah.
you don't meet my needs. And that's what you're
ooh,
saying. You're
trauma
saying that
bond.
if you don't meet my needs, I'm going to harm you. You
Yeah.
can't count on me. You can't trust me. And that's the message. We got to get real about these kinds of things,
You
because
know.
then we raise our children in a society where we want to tell them that sometimes when someone says something, you have a right and you're entitled to a boundary and to protect yourself, but sometimes you're not. And we want them to be able to understand and negotiate this environment. We're setting up our next generation for failure.
You know, it's just like Kevin Samuels. You know, he used to always try to teach people that a woman, you know, a lot of times you don't want to get a baby mama, because a lot of times the baby mama will put the child in front of you. And I used to
Mm,
listen to him talk this mess, but at the same time, I was married to my wife, and every time we had a child, that little creature he became before me. He ate first. Uh, my breast became his breast. You know, those were my breasts. Those are my
That little
breasts.
creature. That little
But the
creature.
thing is, this is that. But he didn't understand is that a real mother understands that she has to nurture the child,
Right.
mhm,
and that's why it takes sometimes, not all the time, one person can raise a child, but sometimes it takes two to raise a child,
oh,
so that one can be tougher than the other.
mhm.
If you got a man that don't like to whoop, like my knee baby and Yoshimod, well, you need
Hmm.
a mother around who's gonna be tough on
My
that kid.
wife will whoop my son with the quickness. It be me standing there like, stop, just chill. And she be
It's
like,
got to be
come here, boy.
yin and yang.
It gotta be.
Yeah.
It gotta
It's got
be.
to be
It
I,
yin
has to
and
be.
I
yang.
love you, my brother Kings, but I'm gonna have to take a digression
For
here.
sure, for sure.
I'm of the opinion that another area of trauma that's been mistaken for culture, because let's think about that tradition of mimicking self mastery from the outside and beating somebody to
Mm.
get your needs met. Let's think about where that comes from, where that's modeled from, if that's
Right.
really us or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The idea that we want to control our children, partially because of safety. We need to keep them safe, and we don't get a lot of second chances
True.
with getting Black children to understand what it takes to be safe. So there's an urgency to be able to control a Black child. Here's the thing, though: it takes more time, it takes more energy to be able to influence a child. That's something different. It comes from a different place.
Yeah.
There's no outcome that equals trauma. So we have to be really clear about whether we're going for control out of convenience, because it takes a lot more time. You know, once a child says no, I'm not doing it. Um, there's control. It's easy. It's easy to reach, and you can get immediate control. But there's something else that we have access to if we take the time, if we're given the time and the energy and the movement and the space to this next generation, and that's influence, to be respected,
Yes.
and for the positive behavior to be mimicked. So I don't know. I'm not a
But
whooper.
Baba
But you
Clyde
know, like
said that. You said that the other time, Baba. Real quick, you said a leader have to be a leader as well. You can't just
right,
Mhm.
take. Remember we talked about that with the job. So in order to be a leader, you got to lead by example. So if the mama
right,
say, "Boy, don't be leaving them plates, all them dishes in your
Mhm.
room. Go put them
There you go.
dishes up. Stop putting all them cups in your room." And then you go in
yeah.
mama room and she got dishes and cups in her room.
Got to set an example.
You
Do what I
gotta
say. Don't
set an
do what I do.
example. boy, cut that
right.
TV off. Ain't nobody in that room. Cut that light in that TV off. Then you go
Mhm.
in mama room. Mama, you
TV
got the
and
light
the
in that TV.
lights on.
You don't worry about me. I'm the grown up.
Exactly.
And I have to tell my
Exactly.
wife, I say, no, babe, we got to lead by example. If
That's
Yeah.
right.
you can't say for him to not do it and you do
Right.
it, because when he go in the real world, he can't justify that logically. Because
Yeah.
logically, he's going to say, well, certain people can do whatever they want to do.
Right.
That's
Right.
just
We're
the way how
talking.
it go.
We're talking about preparing them for the future. Look what
Preparing
they
them
have
for
to
the
negotiate.
future.
They have to negotiate some stuff out here
Yes.
now, and
Yes.
it's changing and it's real. And if you're not sure, if you don't have that piece of self-knowledge, if you don't have a good compass that tells you, yeah, this is not
You
beneficial,
know,
this doesn't benefit me, the collective, my people. If you can't have that dialogue with yourself, if it is confusion, if it's chaos, if it's if then else but, if the person is nice to me, I'll be nice to them unless they do this, else that, but this on Thursday when the moon is high over the top mountain, I shouldn't tell a lie. We're not being realistic about what we're trying to
you
pass
know,
on to the next generation.
I often I would have parents tell me, they would say, Dr. Winters, my child is acting up at home, my son, and you can whip him if you wish. I said, well, I'm not going to whip your child because I didn't even want to whip my own children. But I said that you're the mama, and I said by you being the mama, you can get more out of your child by playing on his sympathy. I said you can get more out of your child by telling your child, this is hurting me. See, no child wants to see their mama cry.
No.
No child wants to see their mother discombobulated. And see, a lot of mothers don't understand is that because of the fact that your child is weak to your love, you can get more out of your child by telling them what they're doing to you from a hurting perspective. But most parents, most parents today, what I found when I was teaching, I found that most parents today, if they're between 35 and 50, many other women feel guilty because they're working and their children are latchkey or their kids are raising themselves, and they feel that they should give their kids so much instead of in a sense demanding from them,
paying for them,
responsibility.
paying for their love.
Here's the thing though, fam.
That's what it looks like. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's the problem with that, fam. First of all, the law requires us to feed and shelter our children. So there's a miscommunication or a misunderstanding that we're doing our children a favor by feeding them or clothing them or providing them a shelter. The law requires that. So it's in our best interest to comply with the law.
Because they try to use it, you're right.
Because that's staple. I fed you, I did this,
I roof over your head, and this
it was in your best interest to do so. Otherwise, you would have went to jail. Here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, I can relate to wanting to give the next generation those things that you didn't have. But let's be realistic. Money and things are the easiest parts of ourselves to give somebody. That's the easiest thing that we have to give somebody. I can write you a check. I could buy you whatever you want and then hold it over your head and tell you how much I've sacrificed. But if I don't give you any time, if I don't give you any energy, if I'm not giving you space to be you and to have your experience, if I'm not willing to put my movement in the bucket on your behalf, if I'm not giving you those things, it doesn't matter what I buy you. That's not how that works. And again, the children are coming out different nowadays. They are showing up with receipts, with laundry lists. They're able to speak and say, I don't like this. You cannot. There's no Santa Claus, no Tooth Fairy, no none of that. They're not having it. So telling them, that's right. Telling them I put a roof over your head, they'll tell you, well, the law requires it. That's your job.
But that's because the settlers have taken away. It used to be a mystery system. There used to be certain things that you held as a mystery. For example, sex. That was something mysterious. And instead of your mama saying, "Don't let nobody have intercourse with you," your mom said, "Girl, keep your dress down." Now, that was silly and stupid. but we understood. But again, there's no
They get in the
mystery.
day after pills.
There's no
You got
mysteries.
your
And
pills your day
sincere,
after. Yeah.
right. But see, I'm gonna tell family, I'm gonna tell you what I think about. Don't get mad at me.
Uh-oh.
And I know I'm glad. I hope tell Dr. Short not to look at this because Dr. Short is gonna get mad at what I say.
Oh,
A lot of
Short
people,
watching. He always watching.
you better not. This is it, is that he gets upset about women doing abortions. I'm going to tell you, family, is that when a woman gets an abortion, you see, that baby that's aborted does not disappear. That baby is still part of your life until you die. My wife once, when we were talking, she was talking to psychic Sandy, and so then the psychic said, you know, your brother, he just really so excited about you. And she said, oh, you mean Junior and Sonny? No, you know, your other brother, you see. And then my wife said, I don't have another brother. I don't have another brother. Those are my two brothers. But then I said, Diane, remember, your mother said she had a miscarriage. And then I heard the Christies. The Christies, you know, it used to be this white family. And then they talked about the fact how his wife had a miscarriage and the baby. See, nothing ever dies. Nothing ever dies. And so a lot of people, when a woman gets an abortion, you may have got rid of that baby on this plane, but that baby still exists. That baby is still with you, and that baby still interacts with you. And so then, therefore, I don't have time. I don't have time to be hating. I don't have time to be hating women who get an abortion. That's something they felt they had to do, but it's not over. It's not over. It's not over.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
We have to start.
That's a clip right there. Let's do a short. That's a reel, whatever it is.
Don't you dare, Yoshi.
That's a real. That is a real Yoshi. That one's
Hey, man,
don't do it. He'll do
real,
it.
Man.
He'll do it.
That's good.
The thing is that we need to stop all this stuff.
Yeah.
We need to stop trying to put women down. We need to stop trying to oppress them. Yes, they did this. Yes, they feel bad about it. But the point is this: is that baby is still existing. That baby is still in that level because, see, remember, you incarnate. You incarnate. You don't reincarnate. Because, see, every time you incarnate, then that slate is in a sense, you know, is cleared. Haven't you ever ran into people and you say, I know her?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
what the hell is this?
Absolutely.
I never met you. I know you. And see, that's somebody.
All that, yeah.
That's why it's somebody in my life. My daughter always trying to tell me what to do. I said, baby, you may have been my mother one day. I do believe this. I said, you may have been my mother one day, but I'm your dad.
This go round.
This go around. I'm your father.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You believe that the people that are in your life, you will see these, because that's the they clone Tyrone effect. So
yeah,
there's always a Tyrone in Los
right.
Angeles, like in New York. So there's in that same time. So it's still going on around. Yeah. Today is, you know, I think, what is it? The 17th?
18th.
Okay. It's the 18th of February, 2024. It's also the 18th of February, 24. BC, 24 AD. And probably in a sense, you may be existing at this time in a different incarnation. But see, that's the whole point. We spend too much time hating each other. We spend too much time putting each other down. And we spend too much time creating traumas.
See? Man, Doc,
come on,
real quick,
come
man,
on,
they
Doc.
said that the hardest, they said every movie and every book that I read about the universe on what's the most powerful is law, all of them say love.
It is.
It's not hate. You would think, man, if I can because you ask yourself, what do I got all this energy for, and how do I direct it? And then soon as somebody come across your path and they do something wrong, you say, oh, that's the mother, and that's, see, yeah, you ready to, man, that mother
Yes.
with the beard and the head, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to do this, and pluck my fingers up the nose, and I want to do all that. But
But
you notice that's so easy. It's
Because
simple.
they're the same. They're the same
It's the
thing. I
same
believe
thing.
love and hate, they're the
Mhm.
same thing. It's the same vibration. The
It's
opposite
the
of love,
same
it isn't
vibration.
hate, it's indifference.
It's
That
that's
indifferent.
right.
they're not opposites. They're the
You know,
same exact thing. And it's interesting you said that because I had a conversation a while back where I had asked, what is a parent's job?
Mm.
Have we talked about that? How would you answer that? What is a parent's job? What is their
Ooh.
one job? What is the one thing they have to do? If you only get one,
you
what is
my
your job?
definition,
Go
What's
ahead.
my
what's that?
my
Huh.
definition is a parent's job is to guide the child to grow up. That's all.
Okay.
Because see,
Okay.
it was
Hold
things.
on. I think that's a human trait. I think that's what we come down here for. To
But most of us don't really do that.
I
Most of
know a
us are,
lot of us don't.
yeah, because if we go back to what Paquette said, most of the time we're too busy talking about control. We
Right.
Mm.
as a man,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
father, my father, Daddy-O, he didn't have no
Daddy-O.
control. But your father teach you two things. You're supposed to control your woman, you're
There
supposed to
you go.
control your children. And my father couldn't control either one.
But that's the goal, though. That's how it
Yeah.
gets laid out. Is the goal is control. Yeah, we
Control.
workshopped. I'm gonna lay out for you now. We workshopped an answer in this conversation we were having, and we talked about it and figured out. We decided a parent's one job is to teach a child what love is. That's it. That's it. That's the
You
only thing.
can't
Now
teach
you
a
think
child.
about it. We workshopped this out and we thought about it and looked at all the different
I
You can't
sides of
teach
it.
a child what
I
love is. You can't
You
teach a
don't
child
think
what
so?
love is.
No,
Because
you don't.
let me explain to you. You can't teach a child what love is. You model love to your
Oh, the
child.
lead,
Ah,
the set
there
by
you
the
go. There you
example,
go.
right? The
Yeah.
set
There
by the
you go.
example.
Yeah,
It's how you treat their mother.
Yeah.
there
It's
you
how
go.
your mother treats each child. It's
Mm-hmm.
how your father
So
treats
if this was
you.
a movie, then you're saying that you play a major part in this film, and the camera is the children, and
Yeah.
they're documenting and watching
Yes.
everything and
Oh,
soaking it
yes.
all in.
Right.
Yes.
That
This is
is
how we're
real.
built.
Yeah.
This is
Now,
how we're built.
I
Child
was
development
told
says we just mimic.
if
I'm sorry. Go
humans,
ahead.
like you said, mimic, if
Mm-hmm.
humans came down here with one purpose and one purpose only, is to teach the kids, I don't think there'll be any porn. I don't think there'll be any the corrupt police. I don't think there'll be any mishap
It might still be some
crazy.
porn.
I don't know, because if you teach the kids
Mm-hmm.
how you want to be treated, and if you
Love.
have a
We're talking
generation
about
of that
love. Yes, we're
love,
talking about
if we
love.
can show them and lead by an
Yes.
example, then
Yes.
porn is nowhere in it. Now,
What
that's the
what you
person.
need.
When I grew up, I have met people, not met, I have seen people on TV say these words: fuck them little kids, hate them little bastards,
Right.
I
Oh
don't
my
like
Right.
little
goodness.
kids, forget them kids. And they would
Yeah.
say, and you would see that, and you would say, how can someone live to hate children?
We had
Wasn't
somebody
you a
in the
child?
chat. We had somebody in
There's
the
a
chat that was saying stuff like that. But I think it was a settler pretending to be a black woman. But the thing is,
there's
this
a
is
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, you said it
there
right.
that
A
is the
but there
thing.
is
settler pretending to
there
be a
is a
black. Yeah, that
content
was.
creator and she is a sister. There is a
Yep.
content creator. She is a sister and she does have a Facebook group called Fuck Them Kids.
See,
Um, she has a
see,
YouTube
you see what
channel
I'm saying?
that's titled that as well.
There's a lot of people
There's
like
another
that, man.
one. There's
You
another
know.
one. I think I just know it's hashtag Black Mama. There's another young man who's and all praise to him. He's processing his own trauma through comedy, but he is emulating Black trauma, Black mother trauma, the
Mm.
wound, as comedy and
No.
going viral for it.
Nah,
What do you
that's
what do you
what's
think?
gonna
What do you think? What Rhonda Lewis said? The best thing a father can do for his children is to love their mother.
Ashe, yes,
Yeah.
that's what we're
If
talking about.
yeah,
Because
because
through
if you
that,
can show that, show that
yes, if
love.
you
I
can
told my wife
show
about
it,
that.
we said we can't. I agree with you. We can't teach love, but we can model it. We
Yeah.
can model love. And if with that information, if a child learns what love is, by extension, they learn what love isn't. And that's just as valuable. I'll tell you, for a child to know what love is as to know what it is not. You
Yeah.
have to know how it speaks when it is love, how it regards you. What type of space does it make for you? What type of space does someone make that is not loving you? How does someone speak to you that is not loving you?
All right.
Just
Noted.
by extension, if you have been
Different.
modeled what it looks like to love, you're going to figure out what love is not.
Saying that you love someone,
That's not
love.
it. That's not it.
You know,
That's
It's
not
just-
it.
actions speak louder than words.
That's right.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
love is deep. What's up? What's up?
Mm.
We've been talking for about 2 hours. Did you guys have any last comments before we go?
Love your kids.
You wanna-
Love yourself.
There it is. And love your mamas. Love
your
the black
mothers.
mother. Love the black
Please.
mother.
It's about love.
It's about love. There's the
Don't
answer.
say it. Show it.
You know,
Show it.
family, this Thursday, now you've heard Paquette talk about her book. This Thursday on my 3:00 show, she's going to talk about the origins of the black mother's wound. I want you guys to join us on Thursday at 3 p.m.
Deep
Central
dive.
Standard Time,
Yeah.
same place, same
Yeah.
time. I want you guys to be there, and we're gonna keep this conversation going. You know, again, thank you, Paquette.
Thank
and-
you, Paquette.
Thank you, my brother Kings. Thank you. Thank you, Baba.
Love
Well,
this.
hey,
Love this.
You know,
In and out, baby.
you're the lady, and you know you kind of you're the woman that knows how we can get over this trauma.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
hope
Yeah.
so. I'd
Sister
love to
Shanice,
hear for that.
Sister Shanice is my oracle. That woman, she'll say something, never come out of her mouth, and it'll
Yes,
I
she
said, "Man, what is that?" She'll lead me down the
Cool,
road.
cool. Shout
But
out
anyway,
to Sister Shanice. Cool dude.
family,
What's up?
Yes, do it.
you guys have a good evening. Thank you for coming to the show tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. Right now, it's time to wrap everything up, you dig? Yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Yo. And Dr. Clyde Winters, Den and 9. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody. All y'all support. Y'all like, subscribe, and share this. You dig it? Yo. You've been invited to the dinner now. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the dinner now. Yeah, Dr. Clyde Winters in the Yoshimine. Intro, outro to the dinner now. We gon' see it, so have dinner now. Yeah, raise your head. Why put them down? B1 on that dinner now. FBA on that dinner now. FBB on that dinner now. It's all about unity on that dinner now. My indigenous folks on that dinner now. All my Africans rise on that dinner now. Rise up on that dinner now. And don't forget to subscribe to dinner now.